Mitch, we appreciate you. And whenever I talk to you, I'm going to ask the most random things, but I might be a little tame today because Blue Jays Nation wants to know everything about who they signed and the deal they made over the weekend with Kazuma Okamoto. Maybe you will say that better. But $60 million, 4-year contract. Just what do you make of this signing for the team?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Not a guy that was like particularly on my radar at the beginning of the winter, but because he's kind of like he's a third baseman. A lot of scouts view him more as a first baseman, and we kind of know the Blue Jays have one of those for the next 14 years. So he's certainly not going to be playing a whole lot of first base for the Blue Jays unless some things get really, really weird. But this guy was like a superstar in Japan for a while now. He's about to turn 30. Played for the Yomiuri Giants, basically the New York Yankees of the NPB over there. He was the team superstar. He's had some years where he's hit 40 home runs. More recently, he's turned into almost more of a contact guy with like 25 to 30 home runs. He's got an adaptable bat. Kind of talking to some people, it sounds like he's like a natural born hitter. And I know that gets thrown around a lot, but this guy has an entire career worth of mashing in Japan. And the Jays are going to see how that translates to the big leagues. There's some guys who have had a lot of success doing that lately. I think Seiya Suzuki of the Cubs is a really good potential comparison for Okamoto, but there are some guys who've also not been that successful. So I think this is going to be interesting amongst a lot of other interesting moves for the Jays. He's just going to be one of the many storylines to watch in the first month of the season or so.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to follow up with you because the last time I saw you was during the World Series. And for those joining us, we have Mitch Bannon of The Athletic right now. Please go read anything he's ever wrote and go follow him on socials because it is a great read. You broke a lot of news and trade news from the offseason moves that the Jays have made so far. What one maybe has impressed you the most or stood out the most?
Yeah, I think the C signing was kind of like the
Mm.
one that really got my attention because for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, he's a Scott Boras client, and the Jays have had their kind of ons and offs in that relationship before. It seems like Okamoto, another Boras client, those two are getting along well right now. But to get a Scott Boras client, especially that early in the off season, it kind of said a lot about the Blue Jays' direction. It said a lot about how much they liked Dylan Cease. It said a lot about how Cease clearly liked them and was impressed by their presentation. But it also showed that this offseason, the Jays were not afraid to set the market on players and certain position groups. Like we've seen them, especially you look at last year. Like this was about the time of year where they signed Jeff Hoffman. A couple days later, they signed Anthony Santander, and then they signed Max Scherzer. Like they really hadn't done anything by January last year. They kind of let the market come to them. This year, coming off the World Series with top players clearly interested in kind of picking up the phone and talking to the Jays, they're willing to just put the real offer, the biggest offer out there early and get these big contracts done. And I think Cease was kind of like an early indication of that's how this was going to go for the Jays this winter.
So my big question here, Mitch, with Okamoto is like, where does he fit? Is he going to play third base? They move Ernie Clement to second. Where is Okamoto's fit on this roster?
I think that's probably the cleanest fit is he plays a lot of third base. Ernie moves over to second. I view it kind of as like a potential playing time floor and ceiling. I think the floor is he's kind of like a platoon with Addison Barger at third base. Feels kind of like the backup first base Ty France role that the Jays had in France after the deadline. Like that's kind of the floor. The ceiling is he's your everyday third baseman, and maybe he plays a little bit of first base. Maybe he plays a little bit of the outfield too, but he's logging like 120, 130 games at third base. That would take him coming over and like immediately handling big league pitching, immediately clicking. Not saying he can't do that, but I view that kind of as the ceiling, which bumps Barger to more of like a backup third baseman and a regular in the outfield. I think the Jays right now have enough roster spots and playing time to make that work. Get a little interesting if they add another bat, who I'm sure we might talk about them doing that coming up. But right now, I think that the floor and ceiling, there's enough minutes for everyone to go around now. But there could be some interesting machinations if the Jays make another move.
Yeah, I feel like Ross Atkins is like Dennis Rodman in The Last Dance, where he's just like, the hand moving, putting this over here and that over there. And it continues if they do make some more moves in the offseason. Like, is the door closed on Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette now that they've signed Okamoto? I think that's the biggest question on many Blue Jays fans' minds.
Yeah, everything I'm hearing is that the door is not closed by any means. I don't think Okamoto makes them signing those guys any more likely. If anything, it probably makes it less likely just because they've already spent $60 million. They have another bat, but I don't think they're out of those markets by any means. I think Alex Bregman in particular would be a bit of a tough fit now, just with like you adding a potential third baseman. He is a third baseman who has played some second, but I don't know if you're going to sign Alex Bregman and play second for the Toronto Blue Jays. But Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, I think the Jays will kind of continue doing what they've done in those markets all winter, which is check in, show interest, see where the dollar figure lands. Like they're in a good spot. Like I think I would argue this is already at AJ's offseason. You add Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette, who would very likely be the biggest contract, offensive contract they've signed to a free agent in franchise history. Like I don't know if there's like a grade above A+ to give them for that, but I still think they're going to sniff around those markets. Everything I'm hearing is this Okamoto move certainly has not taken them out of those markets, which is the important thing.
Mitch, how long of an adjustment period do you or should Toronto fans give Okamoto to get comfortable, to adjust to the city, to adjust to like the elite movement from pitchers in MLB? And last time I checked, Kikuchi was in Anaheim, so there's like nobody in the organization that speaks Japanese. So this guy, how long should we give him? 3 months? Give him a year? What's your read on the grace period that Toronto fans should give Okamoto?
Yeah, I think from like a meshing in the clubhouse, I think he's actually going to be a pretty good fit. I've heard he's kind of a quiet guy, but is like deceptively very funny. I think that's how a lot of people kind of describe Yusei Kikuchi as well. Not that it's a one-to-one, but I think he's going to kind of seamlessly fit in this clubhouse from just like seeing some clips as well. He's like a captain type on the field and like a bit of a jokester off the field. Sounds like the perfect Blue Jay to me. But in terms of like at the plate, and like maybe this is going to be like tough to hear. Like there is a chance he just comes in and mashes. Like I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I think you kind of got to give the guy a full year. I look at what Seiya Suzuki's kind of path was, and that was a guy who was like an all-star, a really, really good, like a 30% better than average hitter the last couple of years. His first season was not like particularly clicky. You look at Shohei Ohtani's first season as a hitter, especially that spring training. It wasn't like he wasn't the MVP beast that he is now. Like I think a lot of these guys take a full season to kind of get used to the different ball, the different movement, the higher velocity. I think the one thing Okamoto has on his side is that he kind of crushes high velocity fastballs. Like that's I think an issue that a lot of players, Murakami, the other big bat that came over from Japan, that was his big potential weakness. Okamoto's not going to have that problem. He can hit fastballs. It's just going to be everything else that he has to adjust to.
And my final question for you is, have you put together a list of dope sushi spots or Japanese spots in Toronto when you do meet him in spring training to help him get acclimated to the world's greatest city, Toronto, Ontario, Canada?
Yeah, sushi spots with Toronto Blue Jays fans kind of a sore topic given
because of the Shohei thing.
Yeah. I think I live in the West End, so there's the MSSM spot is pretty good. Maybe I'll pass it along to him. I think it's probably more likely I'll give him a couple months here, and then I'll ask him for what he thinks is legit, because I think he'll probably be able to educate me on that a little more than me.
Nice.
I
shout
just
out
have one more.
Quick shout out to Sushi Moto at Yonge and Shepherd, and one of my go-to like hole in the wall spots, a place called Tokyo Sushi at Bay and Wellesley, a couple blocks north. But this is like a Canadian guy's sushi palette. So I don't. Again, I might have to, like you, Rich, wait for him to give us suggestions. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, didn't hear that spot. Sorry, Linz.
We'll wait for that insider information from Mitch. I can't wait for it. Mitch, I just have 2 quick questions for you. It's just, first of all, out of Ty France, IKF, Bassett, Scherzer, Sir Anthony Dominguez, do you think any of those names will return in a Blue Jays uniform?
Yeah, it's crazy that like none of the Jays like not homegrown, but like their own free agents have like not signed anywhere. Like they've signed a lot of guys, they've given guys a lot of money, but none of like the Jays actually guys. It's pretty crazy to hear that list. I think most likely I would probably put Scherzer right now. I think it's just easiest to see the fit for him. I think there's like an interesting potential where like Scherzer doesn't sign before opening day, waits until July, does like I think it's like Roger Clemens did this like maybe 20 plus years ago now. But guys have done this before where they like wait until the middle of the season see how teams' rotations look, see how like teams' competitive windows are. I know a lot of people, and rightfully so, are connecting Scherzer to the Giants. His old college coach and teammate are now managing the Giants over there, and he's got a lot of connections over there. Hunter Mentz, a good friend of Scherzer's, the Jays' old assistant hitting coach, is over there now. I think that's a very real possibility. But I think if he does do that kind of like wait into the middle of the season thing, the Jays have an arm go down. They need a rotation spot. Max Scherzer, Toronto Blue Jay again. I think that is the most likely one.
It's interesting. We'll see what happens. I was really hoping for Seabass to come back. I'm not ruling out anything, but I saw his cryptic tweet yesterday. That's like,
Yeah, I
let's
still
ride or
don't. I
whatever
still
it may
don't know
be.
what that
I
was
don't
about.
get it.
I think he's
I
just
don't
having fun
understand
in
it.
January.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fine, but I look forward to seeing you at spring training. But this year you went to a bunch of different ballparks. We're just talking about food, and I would ask Mitch about this like every trip he took. Did you have a favorite ballpark or an experience outside of a ballpark that was food related? Let us know because we're always hungry when we do this show.
I liked the crab cakes in Baltimore. I think that was one of mine. We were
Oh,
there for the trade deadline. It was like 40 degrees outside. It was so hot. It was like I was just like drenched sweat, like having to constantly check my phone every time it buzzed because it was around the deadline. And the like 20 minutes I had the crab cakes down by the ballpark there were like it was the best part of like the 4 days I was in Baltimore. So that would be my recommendation.
Nice.
amazing. Well, we
Good looking
appreciate your
out.
time. Thank you for joining us, and we'll bug you again soon, but I'll see you in spring training in just over a month. Thank you again for your time today, Mitch.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Great to see you, man.